All right, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is in whatever time zone you're in. I'm Emily Morgan of Delegate Solutions, and I'm here today with Bob Shenefelt, one of my friends, who is an awesome visionary leader. He's also an EOS implementer, and he's the founder of I Matter. So first, welcome, Bob.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Yeah, and where are you today? Just to give everyone context.
Suburbs of Detroit
Awesome.
on a beautiful fall day. Yes.
Oh, nice. We're not having fall yet here in New Jersey, unfortunately. So Bob is a visionary leader, entrepreneur, author, coach, husband, dad of two kids, and his great gift is really helping others identify opportunities for growth, simplifying, connecting, and inspiring action towards creating a greater future. His North Star is all about elevating entrepreneurial spirit through self mastery and connection using the disciplines of I Matter and EOS. So amazing stuff. Great,
Thank you.
impactful work you're doing.
Thank you.
I met Bob through the Visionary Forum, which is we meet bi-weekly, and it's just an opportunity for visionaries to connect and experience share to help each other. Anything I'm missing on that? Oh, we actually have a learning component too.
Correct. And ultimately, it's a community of visionaries. Visionaries, it's a very misunderstood role by many, including ourselves. And so it's a lot about us as individuals, as visionaries, just sharing and brainstorming and helping to inspire each other.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And we have a nice group, and I've actually gotten some referrals from being part of that group too. So super
Oh,
helpful. If you're a visionary, you might want to check it out. But today we're talking about how to make time for what matters most. And I reached out to Bob specifically because a lot of the work I've been doing writing my book has me uncovering what I think is the foundation for being a great delegator, which is knowing what you're here to do, what you're here to contribute, and what you want to spend your time on. Because what we've found is that when we start to move things off your plate, we create a vacuum. And so if that vacuum is not filled with things that are going to energize you or motivate you, just more junk comes in, and then you really never feel the relief of it. So I was trying to learn from some experts, because this is not my area of expertise, around how to figure out what it is we're here to contribute. And Bob, I just wanted to get your perspective on the tools and concepts that you're teaching in I Matter to that.
well, thanks. Yeah, so I Matter, it's a system, a mindset, and tools for leaders, visionaries to step into their greatness. And so ultimately, it helps us to realize what matters most, clarify who we are, and follow our North Star. And so, what you're talking about today, is a component of that for sure. And so I appreciate a lot of people, especially visionaries. We don't want to give things up and delegate if we don't know what else we're going to do. And so, I've always been known for the one turning the crank, and I'm the hero, and but that's not what it's about. And so, my wife and I created I Matter for me. Gino Wickman called me 15 years ago a flaming visionary, which I wear with the badge of honor. And he helped me to realize the value of a visionary and that it's okay that I love it and I'm great at it. And so I used to think, I've got to be the hardest worker, the first one in, last one out to add value. And that's not it at all. It's using my brilliance and my connections and, my great gifts to, ultimately add the most value. And so one of the things I wanted to tap into, and this is one of the 6 habits talk I do, 6 habits of a great effing visionary. And it's to fanatically schedule. And so, fanatically scheduling is time for myself. And so, ultimately, to make time for me, because what we've realized is the answers are inside and the time is now. And so, too often, I'm working on urgent things and not important things.
Right.
So, one of the tools, and if you go to imatter.com under resources, it's the Take 5 check in. So, I do this weekly and fanatically, and I spend about an hour and a half tapping into what's going on in my head and my heart, which helps me with many things. As a visionary, I wake up and usually am somewhat frantic of all the things that I either have to do or want to do or get to do. So when I just take a few minutes to tap in, ask myself a few questions, write them down, and share it, and then it's a safe space for me to hear myself think and tapping into that voice in my head, and ultimately I'm learning to tap into what's in my heart and the magic. And the Take Five has helped me to do that. So it's basically asking myself, and you can use any tool. This is a tool that works for me. It's 8 questions that I ask myself. I write it down on a whiteboard, and then I do an audio and then share it with my team, including my wife and a few clients and whatnot. So I'm asking myself, what are some anger, fear, or frustrations, and then the why behind it. So the emotion, and then next steps. Then anything that I'm dreading, why and next steps. And people say, why are you starting with the negative? Well, often the ego in the mind starts there. So why not address it? So listing out either any issues or topics that I want to look at. Then I ask myself, the third question is, am I? So I'm just listening to what my head is saying, and it's often negative. And so, am I ever going to get this done? Am I ever going to be on time? Am I ever going to be able to rest? Whatever it might be, just to acknowledge it. Then my ahas, and that's a learned thing. So things that I'm thinking of that are kind of breakthroughs, a lesson from yesterday or right now, or a song that I'm hearing. Then we flip it to the final 4 questions is celebrations in the last week. And so that can be personal and professional. And too often it's just like head down, and I'm never going to get done. And when I take a second to breathe and celebrate and say, hey, my child did this, I did that, whatever it might be, to ultimately just celebrate it. And then it's why and next steps for those questions as well. Then it's opportunities. What are some things to look that I can, go and create and go knock out? Why next steps, things I'm grateful for. And then last is I am. And so a lot of I matter is flipping from am I to I am and shifting the mindset and the verbiage inside. So this takes about 15 or 20 minutes for me to fill it out. And then we call it the Take Five check-in, because then I just use on my phone the audio, and then I read the answers out loud and record it. So then it's a safe space to hear myself think. So ultimately, then I'm reading the answers and I'm like, oh, that's not really a fear, or oh, that's a great opportunity. Then I share that with my team, and it's awesome if it's the same day as my weekly meeting with my leadership team. So when I go into my leadership team meeting, people are like, well, Bob, here's a few blogs you could do, or some things that you might want to delegate because it's a frustration, or something that's, an issue or a topic we want to solve. And I'm like, where did you get that from? Oh, from your Take Five check-in. So as a visionary, I have so many ideas that come in, and in the morning is my prime time. And by the time I have time to think about it and rationalize, like, oh, that's a stupid idea, or whatever. And so this way, when I capture it in the moment and share it, it's, again, I'm hearing myself think, but then the team that I trust and love and is supporting me and keeping me in my role is helping me to delegate and to tap into what matters most. And often it's not just the to-dos. It might be calling my mom, sending notes of gratitude, things that I don't think are necessarily top priority. But as I'm voicing it out loud and tapping in, it's like, wow, if I knock these things out, it's going to be a great day or a great week. So that's one tool that I use to help with that.
Awesome. Well, I've been on the receiving end of some of your, little kind notes, so I definitely appreciate and notice them. You always show up prepared, Bob. So I think it's working. What you've created is working for your visionary mind. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you. And my wife and I, we created it for me because as a visionary, I'm easily distracted, like many of us are. And so we created a system and a process to help me to ultimately live a great life and I love being productive, exponentially productive. And again, that's not just about how many hours I'm working or turning the crank. It's tapping into those brilliant ideas, which may not always be brilliant, or those, culture things, those notes of gratitude and whatnot, inspiration.
I think, being around entrepreneurs that are in strategic coach or using EOS, like in general, very much attuned to themselves and their own need to manage their own energy. I mean, that's why they do these programs. I imagine that's why they're your clients. And I think, there's just a transformational element to being able to work on your mindset from a leadership perspective because it takes away self-limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging
Yeah,
thoughts. And we need to be able to bring that energy to our work because we're the ones sort of trying to see the future and vision what we're
right.
trying to do. So it's great work.
Well, thanks. And just a couple other things to add to that. We talk about as a visionary, we have 20 great ideas every day. And yet, if I hear myself think, I realize that 15 or 18 of them don't make sense today. But if I don't hear myself think, I might try to force it in. And so I'll throw it out there. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. Or we could look at that next quarter. Or I really think this is a good idea, and get it out of my head and onto theirs. And then with the whole delegate thing, too often I'm just like, well, I'll do it. It's a crappy thing to do, so I don't want to give it to Emily. But when they hear me, being frustrated about it, we're like, no, it's okay to, we want to take that. And delegation isn't me just delegating to you. It's giving permission for people to say, dude, let me take that. And to have that open, honest conversation. That is one of the greatest things, that something I'm not looking forward to and not good at, when someone takes it off my plate, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times that validates what they're doing, to be able to take that thing off your plate. They love doing it.
Yes.
It helps them feel valuable. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yep.
So what does it look like to go through your program?
So there's a couple things. We have the Visionary Forum, which you mentioned. We have the Mountain Retreat, which is a 4-day retreat out in Colorado. That's a couple times a year. And we have the Visionary Summit, which is a 48-hour thing here in Detroit with visionaries. Then we also do Visionary Coaching, which is a 90-day program. And we take people through, too often I'll read a book or hear a speaker and, there's a couple ideas, and then I really don't implement it. And so it's ultimately 90 days to implement, again, the system, the mindset, and the tools. And as a visionary, if I don't include others, a lot of times it's going to be a flavor of the month and fade by the wayside. So what we realize is include the integrator, include the executive assistant to say, I'm committed. We have 3 steps to self-mastery that we call. It's commitment, clarity, and confidence. So commitment is not just me saying, I want to do this. It's no, I am doing this. And then again, just with all the things that I'm doing, engaging my team to protect me and keep me in the space that I need to be in. And sometimes I'm like, that's a little selfish to spend time on me. But it's like, no, if I'm happier and clear and confident, I'm going to be much more effective. And I get out of the way of the rest of my team. So when we engage the rest of the team to say, hey, here's 90 days where it's going to be about an hour and a half once a month, and then 30 minutes a day, that you're committed to yourself, that I'm committed to me. I'm acting like I matter, and I'm putting out to the universe that I matter. It's somewhat selfish, but when I'm taking care of myself, health, mind, body, spirit, the rest works out. I did a blog a year or so ago that said, instead of happy wife, happy life, it's happy visionary, happy life. And it's not all about me, but if I'm not happy, I'm going to get in people's way and get in their face and micromanage, and nobody wins there. So, and happy to me is that we're delivering on what we say. Our processes are tight. We're following up. We're just really delivering on what we promise. And then I'm going to go sell more and create more relationships and get out of the day to day. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, someone either comes in, and if people use the different things, the forum, the summit, the coaching, and ultimately the mountain. So it's a variety. Some people say, I just want to tap in and do a 90-minute twice a month. And then some say, I want to do a deep dive and change the trajectory of the rest of my life. And that's the mountain. So we call it the hub for all things visionary. And it's mainly, again, I've for a lot of times said, I'm a terrible business owner. I'm not a good manager, and had that negative self-talk. And the reality is I'm not a great manager. But that's okay to have a system and the people I can count on. But then what do I do as a visionary? And again, a lot of that is the magic and the intuition, which is hard to measure and sometimes hard to justify in myself. But when the team, one of the other 6 habits that we talk about of a great effing visionary is to celebrate and use the visionary. And so to celebrate is, some people go, wow, it must be nice. Bob just gets to go golf and hang out with clients. Well, it is nice. But oh, by the way, I land the deal, I come up with a new service, a new idea, I get out of your way. Mm-hmm. But ultimately to say, okay, here's what Bob is good at, and here's what we want to use him for. And so to be really clear on those roles and responsibilities, where we often are very good at problem solving on big issues. So, hey, I can go to Bob. Well, he's the owner. I can't go to him. It's like, no, he's really good at this. So I need to, as we say, let go of the vine. But I also need to be available for people to help them with what they're doing. So that's the art and the science of letting go, And one of the other habits is to think about life beyond the vine. So again, why am I here? I'm running a company. That's cool. I'm providing value to my clients and employees. That's awesome. But why am I here? What am I here to teach? And that's what, again, with iMatter, we do a deep dive where I don't have the answers, but we facilitate the answers out of the visionaries themselves. So they put together the system, the mindset, and tools to step into their greatness.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's the missing piece from my work is that ability. Like the first third of my book is mindset. That's all we're working on is like, what are you here for? What are the self-sabotaging thoughts you're telling
Right.
yourself? Why did you start your business in the first place? What are you trying to contribute to the world? And being able to be really clear on that before you start to involve others or before you start to clear your plate. Just otherwise, things that you're trying to move, the time that you're freeing for yourself really isn't going to move the needle for you because you're not
Right.
doing that inspired work.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And we talk about, in business, it's good to know our why, what, and how, and to stay focused on that. And that's a great filter. And again, I want that for my life. So, what is my why? What is my what? And what is my how? And what's been very cool over years, because I need this, and so I'm learning it and teaching it, is my why, what, and how are starting to, again, as you mentioned, it's aligning in my whole life. So, to elevate the entrepreneurial spirit through self mastery and connection, that's a big part of my whole life. That's how I'm parenting. That's how I'm coaching, kids programs. That's how I'm being a great leader of my clients with the leadership team and then with the visionaries. But ultimately, to know that, and that's a lot to journey. I don't know. Every time I think I figured it out. Okay, life throws another thing at me, and yet now I've got a process and tools where it's like, oh, cool, another learning opportunity. I don't always say it that way, but usually
Awesome.
drop in an F-bomb once in a while. But yeah.
And you're also an EOS implementer. Are you currently accepting clients? I'm curious.
I am. We teach to really create a finite target market. And so my target market is usually 10 to 100 million in revenue, but mainly they have a big time visionary with a vision and they're ready for exponential growth. So, EOS can help anyone who's committed to it. That's awesome. But again, where I really thrive and my true target market is when they're like, yeah, we're going here and we're willing to invest time and money to go do it. That's really my target market. But yes, I definitely have, I'm taking on a few new clients in that target market. Yes.
Look, good for you. Love it. Anything else you're working on that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been working on a book. My wife and we created iMatter almost 20 years ago, again, for me. And then we realized, hey, this is good for anyone who wants to live a great life, but again, especially leaders and visionaries. So that finite target market. And so we're really close by finishing up the manuscript for our book called iMatter. And it's The Answers Are Inside and the Time Is Now.
Ooh,
So
nice.
that'll be out in January. And so what's been cool about that is it's just we haven't been able to finish it for a long time. And I had a health scare a few months ago, well, about a month and a half ago. And so I had a lot of free time. And we're like, all right, we're going to finish this book. And so what's been cool is we're really diving in to say, what do we need out of iMatter? And really, it's become very clear. And so we're very excited to release that after the first of the year. And then the next couple of weeks, we're going to then take all of that and put it into a process for an online tool for people to take. So that'll be after the first of the year as well, which we're very excited about. And then again, if people want more, they have the forum or the summit or the mountain or coaching.
The mountain, I love it. Well, I highly recommend the forum if you get a chance to give it a test drive. Totally great group of people in there of all visionaries.
Thanks. So we're glad to have you. And just a quick thing on that. We're connectors as visionaries, and we love to. I don't really love the word network, but networking is getting to know you, and that could be connection. And so I don't want to network to you. I want to network for you. And that's what's been cool is, okay, I know Emily's working on Delegate, but as I get to know you, then I can easily recommend and introduce you and connect you to other people that say, hey, Emily might have an answer for you. And so that's a big part of that. So a lot of visionaries are starting to simplify their who, what, and how, and then we're then connecting it. So yeah, we're very excited about that.
Cool. Well, I think you're an extremely special person, and I'm so glad I've gotten to meet you over the last
Thank you.
year or
I
two. And I think you have
feel the same way.
a great message to share. And my big takeaway from our talk, because I know you love takeaways, was am I versus I am. I think that's so powerful and simple.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that is such a huge thing because again, the and I think everyone, if not everyone, most of us have that voice, and it's usually negative. So to flip that, and then it's calling it forth to the universe to say, "I am a great visionary. You know, today is a great day. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the day with my wife, and I'm going to."
Well, I believe in the power of affirmation, and my son is now getting up for school and has to leave at like 6 something in the morning, and I typically have not been an early riser. And so this
Right.
morning I was being sarcastic, but I was like, "It's a great day. I love getting up early in the morning.
Right.
It's so sunny."
Right.
So I'm using that.
Well, yeah, I mean, choosing an attitude is huge, and sometimes I can't always choose the positive one. But again, with our process, we call it think, act, be. So if I think about stuff and then I act on the most important things, I can be in the moment. And so part of that is shifting those emotions, right? To then ultimately get to choosing happy and being positive. But
On purpose, man.
yes,
That's
love it.
part of the solution. Awesome. Well, super blessed to have you on today. So thanks for sharing. And
My pleasure.
where do people go to learn more or learn about working with you?
So it's imatter.com, and then it explains all the services. If you go to the resource page, you can get the 6 habits of a great upping visionary. You can get the Take Five check in, which is the weekly tool that I use to do a deep dive. I also use the Take Five. My wife and I are doing that yesterday and today. We do a quarterly retreat where we use the tools and then share them together, but especially with the Take Five. And then we also have the free 331, which is a daily check-in. So if you go to imatter.com to the resource page, you can download those 3 things for free.
Cool. Love it. Well, thank you again for sharing your wisdom. Greatly appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Emily. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Bye.